One of the marks of a growing congregation is health, both in numerical growth and spiritual growth. Miracle Temple in Baltimore, Maryland has experienced both. Recently I talked with Freddie Russell, senior pastor of the church, and he shared his joy at what God is doing at Wednesday night prayer meeting. I am planning on attending your prayer meeting. What should I expect to see and to hear and experience?
Wow. Prayer meeting is the most powerful service in this church, bar none. Now, we pack it out on Sabbath morning with worship services, but we communicate very clearly in this congregation that the main service of this church does not happen on Sabbath morning. It happens on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock and Wednesday evening at 7:30. Several years ago, we were like most churches. We were averaging on a great week when the sun was shining and the angels were singing. We will max out at around between 8 to 16 people at prayer meeting. That was about 3 years ago. We run well over 100 plus in prayer meeting now, and we're getting very close to 200. What you can expect is a sense of the powerful presence of God when you walk in here on a Wednesday evening. People start gathering early for prayer meeting. We have the lights lowered. We have prayer requests, excuse me, that are on the screens. And then promptly at 7:30, we open up with a powerful praise and worship service. People have come from a long day. The average age of our evening prayer meeting is around 35 years and younger, all young professionals who are coming in here who not only come, but they bring their non-Adventist and non-Christian colleagues in here on Wednesday evening. It's a phenomenal thing to watch.
I like to hear the praise reports. I love praise reports. I like to give praise reports. I don't have one today, but I always give praise to God anyway.
In the congregation, we literally claim the promise in Hebrews that God says, you must first believe that I exist and that I'm a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. They seek me. And we have claimed that. And we diligently seek the Lord every Wednesday evening, and prayers are being answered. And people soak up the environment, the spiritual growth that's occurring in this church, where people are becoming God chasers, as Tenney talks about in his book, that people are really seeking God. Now, let me tell you what the maturity, the maturation level that has happened in this church out of our prayer meetings. There was a point where people were coming to prayer meeting and seeking God for some blessing in their lives. We now have matured where people are coming now to seek God, just to seek God.
It was wonderful. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the prayer requests too. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Prayer is central in this congregation. It's not an appendage. It's not something we patronize on the side and say we got a nice prayer ministry. It is a central focus of this church that's undergirded by the prayer warriors of this congregation. We have people who are praying over this congregation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The smallest room in this church is a room that we call Prayer Center Central, where that is the most powerful room in this church. And in just a few short months, we plan to have that prayer center staffed. Now, people are doing it in their homes now, 24 hours a day, where people are designated for certain times. But in a few short months, we'll have people actually coming to the prayer center, where it will be open all day long and all night long. When you call this church at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going through some situations, there are people that answer the phone and begin to intercede into your life right then and there. I need to emphasize here that the exponential growth that has occurred in this church has come out of the prayer focus of this church. It's not come out of gimmicks. It has not come out of techniques, out of church growth principles. Perish all of that stuff. It has happened on the knees that the members of this congregation have gone to their knees, and we actually passionately seek God every single week in this congregation. That's what's driving this church. Sometimes I go out because I teach leadership to pastors, and that when they hear what's happening here, they say, well, how are you doing it? And I said, well, what's driving it is prayer. And folks say, yeah, I understand that, but what's really driving it? Well, what's really driving it and what happens out of our prayer meetings in this congregation. Nothing happens in this church unless it's first birthed out of prayer meeting. We found out in the book of Acts that every mighty working of God in the book of Acts was birthed out of prayer meeting. And so we're doing nothing new. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just doing basically what God has said. Hey, come to me, and I'm going to reward you because you are a seeker of diligence towards me, and God has promised to do that. And Dave, all we've been doing is claiming the promises of God, and we sit back in amazement as to the workings and the powerful workings of God that He is carrying out in this congregation.